So Obsession is easily one of the best horror movies I've seen in the past 10 years. It's that good. And just like most of you, when I finished this movie, I thought to myself, Bear is such a creep. He's a weirdo.
What a creep.
And he definitely took advantage of Nikki. There's no question about that. Bear did things in this movie that made me feel deeply disturbed. But the second time I watched this movie, I was going, hold on, Ian, you were moving shady, bro. And I know everybody loves Ian because he comes across as the guy's guy. He also says all the things we're thinking as the audience as well. But make no mistake about it, Ian is the real villain in this movie. And I'll tell you why. So the movie starts off with Bear in a restaurant with his friend Ian. He's rehearsing a speech he wants to tell Nikki one day, essentially admitting his love for her. Bear was saying things like, Nikki, I love you. I want to spend the rest of my life with you. And also, every second of the day when I'm sitting in front of your shrine, I'm thinking about you, baby.
Hello. You.
Within a few minutes of this movie, you can definitely tell that Bear is the kind of guy that thinks women don't like him because he's unattractive. But the truth is, he doesn't understand women. And because he does not understand women, he hyper-focuses on one and creates a fantasy in his head. Right? For example, when I was a kid, I swear to God, I thought J-Lo was the hottest woman on the planet. And I thought anyone would be stupid not to wife her down. But then I saw Ben Affleck, Mark Anthony, Chris Judd, and Ojani Noah all fail. And at some point, J-Lo, you have to say that it hasn't worked out because you haven't found me yet. And my life don't cost a thing, J-Lo. Don't cost a thing. All I'm saying is a fantasy is a fantasy, and Bear is definitely living in a fantasy. Now after Bear completes his speech, listen to what Ian says. Ian says something like, dude, that speech makes you sound like a bitch. Right?
Are you a woman?
He also says something along the lines of, Nikki doesn't really like corny guys, so trust me bro, she doesn't like that. Now the first time you watch this movie, you're going, yeah, Ian is right. Because that speech is probably the cringiest thing I've ever heard in my life. It only works if the woman actually likes you. But the second time you watch it, you're going, hold on, how does he know what Nikki likes? And how's he saying that with such conviction? Is it because you're banging her brains out behind your friend's back? Nah, that's probably not it. So in one of the following scenes, Ian, Bear, Nikki, and Sarah at a bar. They're all sitting at a table together. And that's when Bear looks at Ian and essentially mouths under his breath that he's going to make a move on Nikki tonight. So now Ian looks at Bear and goes, no, don't do it. I love you. Now is not the right time. And just like the restaurant scene, now you're thinking, why is Ian telling Bear not to make a move on Nikki? And this happens a lot throughout the movie. Okay, so cool. Bear's like, I'm gonna make my move anyway. And this is the scene that made me realize how Nikki feels about Bear. So they're at the bar and Nikki orders a very strong drink. She's like, can I get a whiskey on the rocks, please? Right? And when it comes to Bear's time to order, he goes, yeah, I'll have a pina colada. And as soon as Bear says this, Nikki goes, you're such a bitch. No, I'm kidding. She says something like, oh, that's such a feminine drink. And the first time I saw this, I was thinking, Bear, you are so cooked, my boy. You are cooked. You might as well put a skirt on, drop multiple movies on BET, and change your name to Tyler Perry, because that's how she sees you, my boy.
So, Medea, what are you doing here?
So Bear is definitely in the friend zone at this point. So Bear finds the trinket, the one wish willow, and then he wishes for Nikki to fall in love with him. And that's one crazy wish because he could have just said, I wish all girls found me attractive. But because Bear is living in fantasy land like I said before, the only thing going through his brain is, Nikki. Nikki! Now the crazy thing is the wish works. Bear and Nikki then start dating and things get weird really quickly. And the thing is, Bear had so many opportunities to say, hey, this isn't Nikki. And as you're watching the movie, you're thinking, does he know that she's not Nikki? Because I would have known from night one. In fact, there's a scene where Bear is asleep. He wakes up at around 3 o'clock in the morning to find that Nikki is not laying next to him. Right? And then he looks in the corner of the room and guess who's there? Nikki. She's standing in the dark. Her face looks like it's transforming into someone else's face. So Bear goes, Nikki, what are you doing? Shh. Go to sleep. Right? That's what Nikki says. And I swear to God, Bear just goes back to sleep.
You are weak, son of hell.
Bro, I won't lie. I think in that moment I'd be like, baby, I think it's time we start seeing other people. In fact, I'm gonna get some milk from the store. Do you need anything? No? Okay, I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Alright. Love you.
What I meant to say was, I'm out.
So at this point, it's clear that Nikki is not herself. And I think Bear has to know this because in the next scene, I think it's in the morning, Nikki duct tapes the door of the house so that Bear can stay in the house with her all day instead of going to work. And that's another telltale sign that something is definitely wrong, because if your lady wants you to stay at home all day instead of going outside to make that paper, she's crazy.
We could have had something special, but you one crazy ass bitch.
Because most women cannot wait for the man to leave the house and go to work, right? The moment you leave the house, and let's say you forgot something at home and you drive back, as soon as you open the door, your girl's gonna be like, what are you doing? I thought you're supposed to be at work, right? A sane woman would not do what Nikki did. Now there's also a party scene in the movie, and once again, Nikki is doing Nikki things. This is where Ian pulls Bear aside and says something like, I love you, bro, but I don't think you and Nikki work. In fact, it looks like you're taking advantage of her. And the thing is, that's what we were all thinking. We're all watching this movie going, bro, you're taking advantage of Nikki's body. So is it really Nikki that you loved? Or is the fantasy of being with Nikki all you wanted? So Bear was fine with the fact that Nikki wasn't all there because just being with Nikki is all he ever wanted. So when Ian said that Bear was using Nikki, he was right. But here's the thing, Ian was also taking advantage of something, and that's Bear's friendship. In one scene, Sarah goes up to Bear and says, look, I wasn't supposed to tell you this, but Nikki and Ian have been hooking up for about 2 years behind your back. So now Bear has to take in that information as well. Ian also sat there and listened to multiple love confessions from Bear. And not only did he do that, he also coached Bear on every single one. That's just dirty, man. Right? Imagine being coached by the guy that's sleeping with the girl you want to be with. That's sinister. Ian never spoke up once and only got outed because Sarah finally said something. And I know you don't think that's a big deal, but let's say I'm Bear, right? I see a girl I like and I tell my friend, look, I think I'm in love with her, bro. She's the one. So he goes, okay. And then about 2 weeks later, he comes to me and says, yo, Bear, I'm sorry, bro, but I slept with Nikki. I'm sorry. Most guys would be like, all right, cool. Does she have any friends? Right? And that's what Ian was supposed to do, right? Because once I know Nikki has a boyfriend and she's sleeping with Ian at the same time, I'll be like, okay, that's enough of me. I'm tapping out.
Right now, this is too much. I'm sorry.
Ian was supposed to tell Bear about his relationship with Nikki, and that probably would have stopped Bear from falling so deeply in love with her. But instead of confessing, Ian let Bear get to the point of obsession when it comes to Nikki, which means he could have stopped the whole wish from happening if he had simply told the truth. So while everyone's going back and forth about who the real villain in Obsession is, most people point to Bear or Nikki. Some people say Bear's a coward, while others say Nikki's a monster because she knew about Bear's feelings and friend-zoned him for years while sleeping with his friend. But nobody really talks about Ian like that. And I will say this, Ian is not the villain because he's evil, because despite being a liar and a cheat, he still seems to be a good guy.
Hold on, wait a minute.
So Ian is not the villain because he's evil, he's the villain because he's extremely selfish. And here's the thing, selfish people do not just wake up one day and decide to wreck your life. No, they just wake up every single day and decide not to save it. Anyway, that's it for the video. Do you guys think Ian is the villain? Do you think it's Nikki? Do you think it's Bear? Let me know down below and I'll see you in the next one.